my clock to know, because you said it's 40 minutes, so I have to control the time. But today I would like to tell you, okay, let's go. I would like to tell you about my passion, what I'm doing. And that's going to be a little story for those who do not know me, how it started. That's going to be a little part because it started from my passion to heritage. I wanted to be an architect taking care of monuments. Then I had some doubts what to do. I had many questions to solve. And then suddenly something happened. You will see what. And eye tracking appeared in my life. And then very quickly, I said, okay, eye tracking is society. So all these things that are connected to architecture and its social part. So my understanding of what the role of heritage is changed thanks to studies that I passed through, because it's all started from my childish passion about museums, new museums, old museums, big, small. I always like to go everywhere. And this is why I started to study because I was fascinated by, especially by reuse of old buildings and transformation to new functions. Then I noticed that there are so many problems to solve from outside the law troubles and aesthetic troubles. And that was so tempting, and that I decided to make my doctoral dissertation about this subject. Then after that, I said that I will even try to touch even more provocative subjects. And I started about transformation of religious heritage. But after all, I really said, okay, this is not what I wanted, because I'm always finding the things that professor said, and I didn't feel that I am exploring something, that I'm doing something that is really mine. I was doing more of my things in the architectural office, but not really on a university. So I asked how all those specialists knows what people are expecting. One professor said, you should do it that way, and another, you should do it the opposite way. So how to do it? And I made some research, and after all, neither this one or neither that was right. So that was a bit frustrating, that in my dissertation, I show something that wasn't in fact right, yeah. And I said I have to find my new way, but I didn't know what that new way gonna be. And I felt pretty devastated. I didn't know what to do. And there many people said, okay, but do you really want to ask people how to do it? They don't know the subject, and you will have the same situation like with professors. Yes, one will say this, another will say that. And you will get crazy. That leads to nowhere. But the question was always in my head, how to ask them without this verbal inconvenience and without need to ask, hundreds of people, because that's going to be tiring and maybe will really lead to nowhere. How to find the key to their brains, in fact, yes, without this filter of their vocabulary, of their feelings. And then I really wanted to make the conservation, or try to make a conservation and reuse of heritage in a way that makes sense to people. So that will be accurate according to specialists, but also according to people. So there'll be a connection. And after all, heritage is very important to social and cultural identity. There are so many buildings that are important and are building us like Polish people or, and I don't know, American, yes. So this is not a thing that we can deal with or forget about, yeah? So then I ask and ask and ask, and then one day, Ronaldo appeared. And it was really funny because my husband really hates him. But sometimes when there is a good football match we're watching, so I was a bit bored and I said, oh, there is some kind of a film about why he is so good. And then it appeared that they checked why he is so good in, you know, shooting or passing towards other football players. And he had something on his head and it was an eye tracker. And then suddenly Marta, ping, 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 said, wow, I have to do it. And then 3 days later, of course, I already was on the course in Warsaw doing it. And that was very nice. And if I will meet one day Ronaldo, I will say him, thank you, Ronaldo. Because it was so, he did not know, of course, but maybe one day he knows. Then I started to dig into a neuroscience and in how vision works. So I just started a new way how to do it. Because if we know what are people's expectations, what are their reaction, maybe we can really build a space and a way of showing heritage that will be more accessible. If he will look at it, maybe he will easier get to something, he will easier understand. So the effort to understand will be just diminished. So I started first project with eye tracker towards architecture, and so I didn't want to ask people, but I said that gaze is a key feature. So these are my toys that I play with already during my researchers, and eye trackers are very different and differ. So these are eye trackers, stationary ones that allows to make researchers on screen. So you can put there a film or show another stimuli or photo. There are glasses, different kind of glasses that allow you to move in the space, and the registration of moves of your eyes are on the film that is captured from your forehead usually. There is a third one that I use, and these are eye trackers connected to VR, and I'm finishing my article about that. There is a fourth kind, but I didn't have opportunity to use it, and these are glasses connected to augmented reality. But I think that there are very few researchers because this is just a novelty. And how it works, if I will explain it on the simplest example. So this is a man looking on a screen, and underneath there is a very expensive eye tracker, one of the best. And we want to know where he's looking at, or lady A or lady B. So to know it, we have to send some infrared beams to have points of his eyeballs. And then thanks to geometry and mathematics, we can calibrate each eyes. And then we know exactly where he's looking at. And of course, we can, for example, know what is the size of his pupil and get many data so we can use it for analyzing their behavior. And to understand how it works, we have to know that there are certain moves, and the dots are the fixations, so the relative stops, and the lines, these are the saccades. saccades. So these are the very fast move between fixations. Fixation, it's not really the moment that your gaze is entirely still, but it's really making small moves, but around a point that you are recognizing, and you're getting the most information from fixations. So these are, in my case, these are the part that I'm analyzing most. Moves, they differ. But in the reading, for example, they last from 20 to 30 milliseconds, or when the reaction is unexpected, that can last longer. But for my luck, most of monuments do not move, so I don't have to analyze smooth pursuit, so it's easy. Okay, that's good. Then I'll just show you a film that will show how it looks from a research. So you've got a film, person is visiting space. This is from glasses in a museum of Rising Museum. And we can exactly see where he's looking at, when, for how long. And it all looks very the same. I'll start once more. Then it's very difficult in the case of glasses how to analyze those films that are very different, and we are giving them free will where they're gonna go, how to analyze those data. So this is very demanding, because you have to, from the very beginning, you have to transform the film that you've got in every fixation to a picture that you will in fact analyze. And in the museum, it was all point by point transformation, because automatic recognition wasn't possible because of the changes of light, the changes of perspective. So that was very time consuming. But after all, what was very attractive, that you, according to the same data, you can make analysis of, for example, 2 or 3 subjects. You can compare, for example, if something that was important for me as a thing to look at was more attractive or less attractive than the thing that my colleagues from a museum, custodians, said. So, for example, this is a boiler, a thing that stay there, an original part, technical part that stay in this building, because before it was an electrical plant. And the thing that museologists said, this is the most attractive part. And let's see what was right, because we've got many data that we can put here. There, so just a very simple one, dual time. So for how long they've been looking at heat ratio, how many people look at it, from 25 people, how many times they revisit. So look and then come back. So how interesting it was, and how many people make those revisits. And when you will compare it, then you will see that my boiler was in fact more interesting than Liberator. And I think that this is a fact why they didn't allow me to make next research, and they didn't change anything at all on exposition. No, one thing that was dangerous on exposition, and they fixed it. But my friends wasn't very happy to know that exposition is not working very well. Of course, there are many things, many reports or graph bars that you can do. But what is good, that I also gave them some reports about display cases, where the problems, what is not read, or if they've got some reflections that are blinding visitors. Nothing changed, but you can do it. But what for if they're not using it? And they, of course, you can use many other raw data and reports. But after that research, there there have been many people saying, okay, Marta, but is it architecture with big A or is it architecture with small? It's the same question like with aesthetics. Yes, if we can kept while experiment really say you kept the real experience of those people. And I said, of course, it's not 100% real, but I'm trying to get the closest possible. And when the description of an experiment is there, then you know what kind of difference there is. So maybe it's with small a, but I'm still proud of my small a letter. And maybe one day that's going to be big A. But even without eye tracking, we've got projects that are with big A and with small a. And here I think it's a small a. Maybe someone has a different opinion. But this example lead me towards another use of eye tracker that is my dream, to use it for as a tool of protest or as a tool of diagnosis, because here we've got waterfront in Wrocław. It was empty here and they make a reconstruction, but it's ghostly reconstruction. So it's all whitened. And before, on all the visualization they've shown to the public, it was this way. And then when it was finished, people started saying, no, this is destroying the whole panorama of Ostrów. And according to the law, those towers should be the dominant element of this place. So I made such a research, and if you want to analyze it, you can just make some areas of interest for which all the parameters gonna accumulate and gonna count them. And then the simplest way to show if the green thing or the white ghostly building is or not accurate is this report. So we can see that the green area has 42% of attention, and it's from 32 to almost 60%. So yes, it's a violation of law. That was a bad decision. So I started to think how to use this eye tracker as a law.
Sorry, can I interrupt you for a while?
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay, because you showed us also another visualization, like with the red and green roof also. So have you checked?
Yes, I checked, but it's I can show it later because I've got it's too long to speak about it. Okay. Yes. So I can.
And another question, if I may, and I see that at the seminar we can also ask questions in the middle. So the size of the sample sizes. In the museum, there was 25 people. Okay, what were those people? I mean, these were like students, these were elderly, this was a mix.
In the article, it's described that these are people from adult people to 60, not older than 60 years old, and they've been Polish. Mm-hmm. Had no troubles with vision, so without glasses.
Okay, but maybe they had problems with raising their heads up into the air and seeing the liberator. I mean, that's okay. The sample size is very small and the results may be biased. And that's what I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not sure if you can base your conclusions on a sample size of 25 people.
Yes, it's not very big sample, but this time it was the biggest sample that was made according to museum studies. Because, for example, the articles that have been published was about 6 people or 10 people. So okay. That was worrying. And usually it depends of the task, but usually it's like 30 or 40 people, and it's enough for one stimuli or for one task.
Okay, and Ostrów Tumski? how many people there, and how did you make
I
them
have to
look at
I have to check, but I think that it was 40 something people looking in it, and it was people living in Wrocław. So this is also a different thing. If that was a good sample, because people from the city and people from abroad maybe were differently, and this is what I'm doing now on Miniatura, because it's the very, very difficult to work about this methodological thing, how to use it as how to apply it as a tool for law. Because you have to have everything clear and know if you will take this kind of group, then the effect gonna be this way, yes. And there are certain groups of buildings that you're connected to, that you've got some feelings, for example, connected to your nationality, or there's such buildings that you do not know, and most probably the differences that you perceive, you react entirely different if you know it and not to know it. But I'll just make a research about that now.
Okay, but how did you find the subjects for this study? I mean, the Ostrów Tumski. I mean,
Just,
there was a person walking by, you caught the person, put in some eye tracker on the head and told them.
No, it was the stationary one, the stationary one. I just show a picture.
Ah, okay, okay.
I just show a picture. So the experience gonna be the same because it's the easiest. Because if I cut a person, this is very difficult. So for example, the light, sometimes there is a cloud coming and the building is darker. And when there is very shiny day, then the white building is brighter. So these are entirely different situations. There are many, many questions how to diagnose those things. So this is the game I started to play.
Okay, okay, thanks.
This is very interesting to play this game at the very beginning. Okay, for example, another task I wanted to ask to myself is the trouble of use of heritage in economic activity, yes? And everywhere we are putting publicities, and is a question, do we see those publicities, or the heritage is in fact lost behind all those banners and etc. Yeah, and who in fact decides how that's going to be? Of course, I said, I was provoked by some of my colleagues. I said, okay, but there are rules. You know how to do it, and why we have to ask the rest of the society how to do it. And to check myself and to have just fun and the pretext to make a research, I just asked professional to do it in a traditional way. So in a round one, there we had professionals just using their experience and asking some question. I had rules that are created, for example, for a very known professor, how to put those things on buildings. And in the round two, I asked not professional, but according to my visual ways, my idea. So I showed them the same proposals, but checking how they're observing it and register it with eye tracker. So I had to find an idea, and the idea was the museum, the entrance to Fordham Pavilion. And there was a famous awarded logo of National Museum in Wrocław. And as we can see, this is the same logo with different colors. And then I noticed, oh, there is a white logo. And why it's white? Somebody said to whiten it, so it couldn't be blue. Yes, so this is a good reason to start a research there. So I prepared maybe a cream logo. It's even less visible, blue one, black one, red one, and green one. And I showed those examples to specialists, and it's describing to how many, etc. And I asked them a question. First one, according to which, only to logo, which is because to put logo, you have to note this very quickly. then the reaction between logo and monuments, how that's going to affect. And the third group of question, it was which one you gonna choose and which is the bad idea. Yes, and according to answers, I had hypothesis, 5 hypotheses, and then I checked if they're right according to my research. So I showed to many people different, it's quite complicated how I show it, because I couldn't show to one person all version of a building with red logo, building with blue logo, because they're gonna know and they're gonna use the short-term memory. So it's difficult. So among many pictures and a task, I can give him only one version of, for example, with blue logo or with red logo. So that makes my research group and volunteers quite big, because if I want to have 40 people for one stimuli, then I have with 5 stimuli, so I have to have 200 people. Yes. To compare. So this is this methodological thing that I cannot show them in a short time, the things one by one, because the reaction are entirely different, makes the group of research really big. And then I don't want to talk about what was the result and what they choose, but after all, even I was wrong, and only 2 of 6 hypotheses was okay. So we as specialists been wrong, and we've got some lucks, and maybe we can really, eye tracking can help us to know more about visual reaction of people. Then I started to ask about other things, for example, about anastylosis, and this is because we've got also archaeologists in our department. They're doing many interesting things. And there is also a visual part of anastylosis, for example, how to differ new things from new parts from old parts, and where is the good contrast, because some says it should be very small, and others said it should be visible, otherwise people won't recognize or wouldn't know what is new and old. So I made this kind of experiments, also an experiment about where is the border of authenticity. So how many new pieces you can put on so people will still recognize what is old and what is new. And it was very easy because I invented that they should simply count. And if the counting of new elements is easy, then they're easily recognize it. If the counting starts to be difficult, then the recognition between new and old is too difficult. So I've got times of recognition. Yeah, I can use those data. But still, when I'm showing those graphs to architects, they're saying, okay, I don't know what you're showing. This is very strange. And they're using a lot of energy to understand. So I'm also thinking how to show it to architects, but also to society, because they're a very attractive way of showing, for example, with heat maps. But in fact, I'm looking for a way to show it clearly, easily. So people, if I have to use it like a tool for social consultation, then I have to find an easy way to show it, not with graph bars, but quite attractive in a visual way, but also in that will give the information sufficient to get to know the idea. And this is your answer about the other options. There you go. So these are examples. A is without, B is with a white version, C is with a green roof, and D is with a reddish roof. And there is such a difference. So before, it was like this, that the cathedral gained 61.1% of attention. of time of attention, and with, of course, there's no library building, but with red roof, it's 48,9. So we expect that there need to be a decrease, but still with red roof, cathedral remains and the most attractive element. And with a green roof, maybe less, but still remains the more attractive element. So this is what was checked while those research. And as you can see, there is the same element with show with heat maps and show with report of showing the percentage of how long people been looking at. And the third one is a proposal of showing the difference between the first version and the version AB, version AD, version AC. And I don't know which is the more communicative, but maybe I'll check it soon. But there are other questions and other problems because I'm showing, in fact, the 3D space, but on a flat screen. And that can be quite problematic. And in many articles, I already explained why and what for and what are the good size of showing it in a laboratory and what is the bad size of showing it in a laboratory. For example, this stability of a stimuli, yes, for example, of light. So I said, maybe now when I've got VR, eye tracker, I repeat some kind of research and compare it. So before I checked one of my first research, what is the influence of enlargement, elongation of interior of a church, and if because there was idea that if the church gets longer, then the prayer and the concentration on a ritual is easier. Then I check it and make it on the screen. But then I, with Wojciech Fikus, prepared 3D stimuli and show it with VR, the same stimuli that look this way. The shortest here, medium one, and the longest, and the proportion of this was the same. And we made a registration of it and an analyze, and then make a certain kind of reports. And it is, of course, very, very difficult then to show it, at least for me, to analyze all those data and to compare. But after all, it appears that many data is the same and the effect is the same, but the reaction on a flat screen are slower, just, calmer, and, just like you're less engaged onto a screen, but the main idea was confirmed. And even some of the data are really, really similar. And it was a shock for me that it was so the same. So now I'm finishing doing that. But my dream is to make a research on, for example, come back to a museum and try to make the research about perception of our environment in museum, also with eye tracker. And maybe my dream gonna come true. I don't know. I think that I use it's even 33 minutes, so I'm very quick. So I think that's it. Maybe there are some questions.
Okay, thank you very much. So it was, you didn't use even the entire time, but timing was perfect. So now it's time for questions, and I see some comments on our chat. So indeed confirmed by Katarzyna Jach, she's also working on eye tracker or eye tracking, that this experiments, so maybe Kasia, you just say this.
In fact, I didn't work with eye tracker. Professor Michalski is working with eye tracker in our team, but recently we have searched for sample in different HCI experiments, and usually they are really very low, 5 people, 6 people, even if there are some special users like people with disabilities, it can be even 1 person, really. So your sample is huge.